talking on circular chemistry for water sustainability. I'm sure you all know what is water sustainability. If you all get water, adequate and clean water, that is the sustenance of water. So let us see how the circular chemistry would help in that regard. Okay. So my talk is, I will talk about the crisis that Bangalore faced recently, and then what is the solution for that, maybe the insight from circular chemistry, that is nature-based solutions also I will talk about it. Finally, what we have done, how the society is benefited from our science, that also I will be highlighting. Okay. So now, those of you want to know more about the work what we are doing, all the details are available at this web page. So this is the web page where it gives the details about most of our activities. There is the published literatures are available here, and you have the conference, etc. Okay. Now, the agenda of my science is to ensure that we have sustainability. As I mentioned earlier, sustainability means ensuring clean and adequate air, water and the environment for the next generation. And for that, one has to do the planning. And to do the planning, you require the data. And how to do that planning, we will see that. So now let us try to understand some of the principles, okay? See, when you look at this slide, you will see that, this is a simple, the food chain. You all would have seen. The chemistry of that also you might be knowing. So it gives an idea about how the solar energy gets converted into the food and what is the efficiency of that. And then the next level, the food is taken by the herbivore and which is taken by the carnivore. And finally, whatever is left in the system is get converted into elemental form by the bacteria and fungi. This microorganism does help in treating the waste, and that's the thing you need to understand. But when you look at this carefully, you see that energy and material transfer happening in the system, and there is nothing, there is no waste in the system. When you look at the nature, coming back to this one, when you look at the nature, there is nothing called waste, and also the nature is based on the chemistry. You see that conversion happen, there is efficiency, and how to improve that efficiency. That is where the challenge comes. That's where the science is required. Okay. So now, how did we treat the wastewater? Let us try to understand. One of the successful model I had given to the Bangalore, which is working since 2010. There's a lake called Jakkur Lake. Surrounding the Jakkur Lake, way back in 2005, there were 25 wells were there. When we did a water quality, water chemistry assessment, we found nitrate in all the wells and in the lake water. Now you all know, as a students of chemistry, they are all chemistry students. As a students of chemistry, nitrate problem. What is the kind of health consequences of the nitrate if we take that consume the nitrate? Nitrate is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. That is the time we push the government to see that the wastewater doesn't get into the lake, and consequently the groundwater is not contaminated. Then lake was rejuvenated, and the wastewater which was coming from the surrounding area, they tried to convert that into the useful water which is let into the lake. Now you all know the wastewater that is generated at house, which we call it as sewage, or the domestic wastewater. The treatment of that involves the three stages. First is the primary, then the secondary, tertiary. Primary treatment will remove the large particles, secondary treatment will remove the chemical ion, and tertiary treatment will remove the nutrient. Now the nitrate problem in the Jakkur Lake and surrounding wells is the nutrient problem. When the government took up the rejuvenation, they constituted a committee, and I was a member of the committee, and they allocated the money. The money they gave was sufficient to have the secondary treatment plant, but for tertiary treatment, the money was not enough. Then what I did was, See, I integrated the nature-based solution. I integrated constructive wetland and algal pond with the secondary treatment. Because as I said earlier, secondary treatment will remove the chemical ions. And when I integrated this constructive wetland and algal pond, and we monitored this system for the last 13 or 14 years. And today, surrounding the lake, there are 300 wells are there. And when we analyze the well water sample and the lake water sample, none of them have the nitrate. We have removed the nitrate through the simple way of optimizing the nature function, integrating the constructive wetland and algal pond. This is a nature-based solution. And when we analyze the water, what is there in those 300 wells and the lake, none of them have the nitrate. That means we have solved the problem. Okay. So now at least I have a satisfaction of giving a clean water to those 300 well users. See, this is how the simple technology helps in solving the societal problem. And whatever we have monitored, the report was prepared and our study shows about 85 to 90% of nutrient removal happens. So, and the report is available online. So those of you who are interested can go to the online and download this report and get the further details of the technology, etc. Okay. So now, how the wastewater, if we do not treat, what are the implications? Let us look at it. We are letting the untreated sewage or partially treated sewage into the lake, and in the process, sustained inflow of the nutrient-rich water into the lake or water body contaminates the water body. That's what is happening in many lakes in Bangalore. Our study shows out of 198 lakes, 98% are sewage fed. That means we have sewage in almost all the lakes in Bangalore. So, and when you look at the contamination aspect, you see the solid waste is dumped in the lake bed, which get the chemicals from that get leached into the lake water. Similarly, the lake is being encroached, and then you see that sustained inflow of the sewage happens. For example, Belandur Lake, there is about 500 million liters of the untreated sewage getting into the lake. And even those who are away from the lake, they are sending this wastewater through the tankers. Whether people are away or whether they are in the city, the lake is getting contaminated because of the untreated sewage getting into the lake. Okay? And when the lake is clean, you see that it looks like this. When the lake is with the nutrient rich, you see there is a profuse growth of the macrophyte. These are invasive species. They are not native species. When there is a thick cover of macrophyte, it doesn't allow the sunlight to penetrate. In the absence of sunlight, you see that algae doesn't grow. Since algae doesn't grow, you see that fish also is not there in the lake. So now the food is from the lake is affected because of that. Okay. Now you would have seen the frothing of the lake, Belandur, and the fire in the lake. Now since you are all chemistry students, I want to know how the frothing happens in the lake. Anyone can answer.
I'm working on some biomolecules related to BSA. So the froth will happen because if we rub, or like example, if my synthesis is related to protein, if I shake vigorously or there is any friction, the froth will come. Like any protein related molecules or microorganisms are present in water.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay. Now you all generate sewage at home. Am I right? What does sewage consist of? In terms of the nutrients. Already madam has given some clue.
Organic material.
What does it consist of? See, it consists mainly of N and P. Madam, can you tell me what are the nutrients in the water? The sitting next to a boy, the nutrients N and P are there in the water. So now how does N gets it? We all take protein, the nitrogen gets into the water. And how does the P gets into the bottom? The phosphorus. We all use detergent. Detergent has the phosphorus. Now the phosphorus in the water, when it get into the lake, we are generously sending our sewage into the lake. The phosphorus get trapped in the sediment. Now during the monsoon, pre-monsoon, there is a high wind. Because of the high wind, there is a churning of the lake water happens. When the churning of the lake water happens, the phosphorus which are in the sediment get detached. It is similar to you put detergent in a bucket of water and stir it, you see the foam formation. Exactly similar thing happens in the lake. So you will see the froth formation happen. So now if you want to solve the problem of froth in the lake, what you should do? You should remove the phosphorus in the lake water. If you want to remove the water hyacinth covering the lake, then you have to remove N and P. So that means these are the contaminants now. See, some amount of nutrient is fine, but excess creates a problem. Today you all had jamun. Eating 1 or 2 jamun is fine, but suppose if you try to eat 100 jamuns, you know what will happen? In the evening you get admitted to the hospital.
Yeah.
Or if you have taken more than 2, you will sit in the classroom, you will be continuously talking. Because body will be restless, so the people get agitated. Okay? Those of you who are talking continuously, I could attribute only to that. Okay? More of jamun got into the through the food. Okay? Now, the solution for the froth is the ensure that phosphate doesn't get into the lake. Now, you might ask, how will I solve the problem? Look at the detergent. Can't we manufacture detergent without phosphate? Way back in 90s, when in Canada, when Great Lakes were frothing happening in Great Lake, the Canadian government and similarly in US government brought a restriction on use of phosphate in detergent. Of course, there are other alternatives are there, Kyolite and such alternatives are there. So, and they brought the restriction and they solved the problem of the frothing of the in the lake. Now, what did Indians do? Indian engineers, they just put the barricade. They said that they have solved the problem of the froth coming to the lake, from the lake. Of course, I wrote an article saying that this is an ad hoc solution. The solution has to be at the source, not the ad hoc level. So, and I wrote an article saying that the solution is for 4 days. And as I predicted, on the 5th day, the froth crossed over. That means the froth problem continues to be there. See, their problem was because the froth coming from the lake to the road, it had become international news. So they wanted to suppress that. So that is why they come up with the ad hoc thing. Now, as a student of science, I would say that you look at the source of the problem. Source of the problem is reduce the phosphate in detergent. After there is a article of mine available online also. The frothing in lake causes a remedial measure. We looked at the chemistry aspect of this one. Then we pressurized the government of India to come up with the regulation. At that time, the Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers, Anand Kumar, he took it forward. And today we have a restriction on phosphate-based detergents in India. Of course, there are gaps. Still, that is not being implemented. Regulatory agencies have to do the job. So now that means there is a solution for the problem. Okay? And we have found the solution. Only thing is it has to be implemented. For that to be implemented, we need youngsters who can see that these are implemented. That is where understanding the subject becomes very crucial. And at this young age, when there are capacity building programs like this, the studies what I have done for the last 2.5 decades, you might be getting in the 60 minutes. You are benefited that way. Okay? Now let us look at the issue of fire. How the fire forms in the lake? I am asking a question. Yeah, someone has to give the mic. You should be alert. Give the mic to them. Sorry?
Like the buildup of methane gas.
Okay, methane gas. Any other?
And like
Okay.
oils.
Yeah, good. Chemical from industry, what does it consist of?
I think mainly dyes.
No, dyes won't give the fire. No, it doesn't have the combustible behavior. Very good. Hydrocarbon. Yes. See, that is what happened in this one. See, I have visited many countries. Nowhere I could see the coexistence of fire and water. Only in Belandur Lake and Vartur Lake we saw that happening. The methane thing is, I rule it out. You are partly correct to the methane. If methane is there only at the inlet, not at the outlet. But fire was happening at the outlet. So the outlet is more to do with the combustible material getting into the water, and somebody had put some ignited that, and that is where the fire started happening there. Now let us look at the water chemistry. You know, when you look at the water body like this, it's a clean water body. You measure the water quality here at the inlet as well as the outlet. For example, take the one parameter, dissolved oxygen. You will say at the inlet, dissolved oxygen may be 0 because the sewage is getting in, or 2. But at the outlet, it will be as high as 12. See, you can see that as high as 12. That means by the time when the water reaches from inlet to the outlet, the treatment happens. You know, the treatment happens because of the photosynthetic activities of the algae. So you can see the coexistence of you see that biology is working, chemistry is working, then finally treatment is happening. And another parameter we look at is the biochemical oxygen demand. You look at when the water body is covered with the water hyacinth or the invasive weeds, you see that the BOD is much higher at the outlet. Okay, so that is so now we understood the chemistry of the water, and also we understood why when you see the water body covered with the green, do not think that green is pleasant. That also shows there is a contamination because of the chemical input getting into the water body. Okay, so now let us look at how the contamination affects us. You know, we analyze this water. You know, my students are doing this work for the last 2.5 decades. We looked at the heavy metal composition of the water. There are higher quantum of the cadmium, chromium, etc. in the water. Then we wanted to see whether it affects the humans or the biological organism. What we did is we collected a fish sample, and this water from the lake is also used for growing vegetables. You know, in Ramachandra and Siddhapura, etc., in the Vartur downstream, people use this water, lake water, to grow vegetables, so like green leaves, radish, etc. So we collected that vegetable samples and also the milk sample, you know, from the cattle in the neighborhood, because that greenery which is there in the lake goes as a fodder to the cattle, and also fish sample. We analyzed the elemental composition in these organisms, you know, both the plants as well as the liquid, and we found heavy metal in all fish to the green vegetable. We saw the heavy metal. Now you know what is the consequence of consuming heavy metal, the food with heavy metal. What is the consequence, health consequence of that?
It leads to the dysfunctioning of organs, and it
Sir, here.
Research topic is development of biosensors for detecting of heavy metals, and there are certain ranges for mercury, arsenic, cadmium, lead, and other both essential and non-essential. There is 10 ppm. There is a limiting concentration of particular heavy metal, so that if it goes inside, slightly it gets deposited inside our blood streams, and it goes into, usually kidneys will get affected, sir, and it leads to the blood does not get purified properly. That could be a trouble, and leads to the other heart diseases or like liver diseases. To some extent, they won't detect the heavy metal concentration in our body. Unless until I'm working, no one has developed anything related to clinical samples. There are a number of work related to water and food. It's like one of my research topics.
Okay, good. You are partly. You see that you look at the chronic diseases like cancer, kidney failure, etc. You know, the Bangalore is number 1 as far as cancer is concerned, and kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today is 1 in 5,000. And you see the dialysis unit is installed in almost all wards in Bangalore. You would have seen a big advertisement by a politician inaugurating the dialysis unit in a particular ward. Essentially, what is he doing? He doesn't understand. He is demonstrating that his ward has become unhealthy. This is what we need to understand, how this heavy metal transfer from our inaction to the water and to our food, and it is coming back to us as the serious consequence. When a person loses a kidney, what is the kind of the expenses? For example, I have seen the younger generation getting affected because I work with the school children and I work with the college students. In one of the rural school in Vartur, when I visited about 2 years back, LKG girl child had lost the kidney. Okay, in the same school, 8th standard kid, girl child, had lost both the kidney. After a year, when I visited the same school, I looked for the girl. The principal told me that 8th standard kid is no more. The youth are asset of our nation. We are losing the youth because of this unhealthy the environment. That is where we need to understand. And that is the role of these you students. You should bring out this kind of anomalies that is happening in system so that you should alert the system. Then people can come up with the remedial measures. Like I have given the solution to treat the wastewater. Something similar to that you can come up with that. You can come up with the bioremediation or based on the adsorption principle or absorption principle, you can have this one. Now, you know that how our inaction of not treating the wastewater, our food is getting contaminated. And it is not restricted only to the Vartur. Do not think that we are not affected. For example, in my campus, 2 of my colleagues died because of the kidney failure. That is because the food what is coming to the Bangalore market from these regions have the contaminants. That is the role. You youngsters have to take up this issue seriously and see that how this can be addressed. That is where we need the treatment which is cost effective, which is easily implementable. Always people become hypersensitive. I have seen everyone going for RO. What is RO?
Reverse osmosis.
Reverse osmosis. Is it required in everybody's home? For example, 60 to 70% of the Bangalorean get the Kaveri water. Osmosis. The technology is okay. For example, when you treat the water through the RO, it removes the minerals. Okay? But it doesn't distinguish essential and non-essential. It removes everything. That means RO treated water will not have any minerals which is required for your body. You wanted to remove the minerals which your body doesn't accept, but you are removing everything. Now, consequence of that is what happens? You would have seen people having high blood pressures, arthritis. One of my colleagues who was in Malleshwaram, he shifted from Malleshwaram to the outskirts, and there the water supplied was a RO treated water. Later he developed this arthritis and all. Now after realizing that it is something to do with the water, he has come back to the Malleshwaram. I have tested the water in the regions in the core areas of Bangalore. We do not require RO. I do not understand why RO plant is put in many locations for the people. That is where wrong use of technology also create the mess. We have to be extremely careful on that. Okay? Now, we understood the contamination of the lake, etc. We also developed the system called Bangalore Lakes Information System, BLISS. This you can access. This is the portal where if you click on this, you will get the access to the thing. This gives the lake-wise the details. What is the water chemistry? What kind of organisms are there? The fish, then the zooplankton, algae, etc. If the water body is clean, what kind of fish composition? If water body is contaminated, what kind of the biological the configurations are there? You can have a look at it. And also we have tried to look at what is the worth of the lake. What kind of goods and services the lakes provide. Okay? So now this technology, I talked about it a few minutes back. Now my technology is simple. I said nature-based principle. You know, when you look at the Jakkur Lake, see, I have installed the secondary treatment plant. There the chemical ions are removed, large particles are removed. When I pass that water through the algal pond and the constructed wetland consisting of the plant, you know, these producers, the plants require the nutrient. They remove the uptake the N and P. When they uptake the N and P, I'll have a water without N and P. That's how the treatment happens. So that is where, you know, there is no nitrate in the water these days. Okay. So now, what is the technology? See, I looked at all the native species. I just increased the residence time. You know, by the time when water passes from one channel to the other channel, you know, all the plants, they require nutrient. You would have seen somebody taking a higher amount of dal, some people taking higher amount of fruits, etc. Like that, each plant has their own affinity for the uptake of nutrient. When you integrate that consortium, you know, you have the better treatment there. See, the chemistry with the simple biological principles. You know, how the nature functions, you can mimic that, okay? Finally, you have the water without any nutrient or heavy metal. Okay? Now, let us talk about water sustainability for Bangalore. You know, all of you, some of you would have faced the water problem in Bangalore about 2 or 3 months back. Is there a solution for water crisis in Bangalore? Now, I looked at what is the water requirement for Bangalore. We require about 18 TMC of water. Then how we get water? You know, when it rains, I just did the quantification to find out how much rainwater I get. You know, in a Bangalore, I get about 15 TMC of water. That means in a region where 18 TMC of water is required, you have 15 TMC of water in the form of rain. Now, if you catch rainwater, you have solved the problem of water requirement by 70%. Now, how do you do the rainwater harvesting? There are 2 ways of doing. One is individual houses having the rooftop harvesting, you will have 3 to 4 months of additional water. The next best option is rejuvenate the lake and retain the rainwater in the lake. You know, I said that Bangalore, we have interconnected lake system. If we rejuvenate the lake, I can retain the rainwater in the lake. When I retain the rainwater in the lake, surrounding groundwater get recharged with the clean water of rainwater. So that is, you might ask, what is the proof? See, Saraki Lake was rejuvenated 3 years back. I was in the committee. Within a year of rejuvenation of Saraki Lake, we saw the groundwater table improving by 300 feet. And today, you know, when most part of the city faced the water crisis, the Saraki Lake had enough water and groundwater table was less than 500 feet. And the temperature in Saraki Lake was at least 2 degrees lower. Because of the high moisture content, temperature is lower, and because of high moisture content and lower temperature, you see large number of birds there. When most part of Bangalore was facing the severe heat wave, okay, Saraki Lake region, there was no water crisis in the day. That means that is one solution one can think about. Now, I also said Bangalore uses 18 TMC of water. If I treat that 18 TMC of water, I have 16 TMC of treated water. That means to treat that 18 TMC, the best option is what I did at Jakkur Lake. If I implement in all the region, then I have the solution. That means 15 TMC because of rainwater harvesting, 16 TMC because of the wastewater treatment. I have 31 TMC of water in Bangalore where the requirement is about 18 TMC. That means there is a sustenance. There is the more than what you require, you have the water. That is the sustainable solution. Now, for this to happen, I have 5R formula. First R is the responsible citizen. You know, when people are responsible, they rejuvenate the lake so that I can retain the rainwater. They'll also help in reuse and recycle of the wastewater. Okay, so that, you know, with reuse and recycle, I have 16 TMs of water. When I rejuvenate the lake, I have 15 TMC of water. So that means with responsible Bangaloreans, I have 31 TMC of water for the Bangalore. Okay. Now, this is how we develop the rejuvenation blueprint. See, when you talk about lake, which is contaminated, you need to, if you are talking about rejuvenation, there are 2 ways of doing it. 2 steps. First step is decontaminate the lake. Second is arrest the contaminant entering the lake. So now when I say arrest the contaminants, you see the wastewater getting into the lake, you should not allow the raw sewage entering the lake. That is where nature-based solution will help. And decontaminate the lake. Let us look at how to decontaminate the lake. Where the contaminants are resident in the lake. Now when you do the soil analysis, you will be surprised to see soil chemistry. When you look at the soil chemistry, you will see what is the composition of that, how much heavy metal is there, how much nutrient is there. Okay, so now see this lake water, the people grow, whatever the grass is grown, they use it as the fodder for the cattle. That means, if we contaminate the lake, we are getting the milk which is contaminated. We have to be careful on that. Okay, now what is the kind of technology that is available for wastewater treatment? Of course, what we did in Jatpur is we have sequential batch reactor, integrated algal module with a constructed wetland, and we see that there is an improvement in the water chemistry because of that. There are many technologies, cost expensive also are there, like membrane technology, etc. Okay, so now how did we do this for Belandur and Vartur lake? As you all know, Belandur and Vartur lake, the two biggest lake in Bangalore, is getting rejuvenated. I gave a proposal for rejuvenation about 5 years back, but it was not moving. When some youth took it to the Supreme Court penalized the government of Karnataka 500 crores. Now that money is kept in the escrow account, and that is the money being used to rejuvenate the Belandur and Vartur lake. Now the Belandur and Vartur lake rejuvenation is happening. I am in that committee. One is the thing is to decontaminate the lake. First is remove the contaminants that are in the lake. So what we have done is the silt that is there in the lake, how much silt has accumulated and how much has to be removed, we quantified. Now that is the first step. So for that again science is required. See, these are our sampling location. Using the boat, we collected a water sample and soil sample. See, look at to understand the nature, the health, ecosystem health, the knowledge of chemistry is very important. Okay, so that is what we looked at, water and soil, and this is Belandur and Vartur lake. And also we quantified how much sediment is deposited in the lake. If you look at the current depth and the historical depth, suppose historical depth is 100 feet and current depth is 20 feet, 80 feet of silt has accumulated, 100 minus 20, 80 feet has accumulated. Like that we did a quantification. It gives the current depth and this gives the historical depth. The difference gives how much sediment is accumulated in the thing, how much silt is accumulated. We did the quantification, it shows 11 million cubic meter of silt is there. Now that is a big quantity. How to handle that. We looked at the soil chemistry, the contaminants in the sediment in both the lake. We found that there are contaminants, heavy metal in Belandur lake, while the Vartur lake doesn't have, because Vartur lake is the downstream of Belandur lake. So it didn't have any contaminants. Then what I did is, I had a meeting with the local farmers. I convinced the local farmers that this silt doesn't have heavy metal. If you grow the vegetables with that, then you will have a profit. About 400 acres farmers took the silt. After 4 months when I visited that region, every month I go to Belandur Vartur lake. Once in a while I visit the vicinity also, farmers, etc. When I visited the farmers, you see that they are so benefited. But before that, let us look at what kind of nutrients that are there in this one. We looked at all this one, heavy metal, etc. in this. We were equipped with the knowledge. What is the water chemistry? What is the soil? The contaminants if it is there. Okay. Then also we looked at what is the kind of the uses of the silt. The silt can be taken out from the lake, can be used to make the bricks. If I take out that silt and convert it into brick, I have the bricks worth 1,500 crores. And also we looked at the nutrient composition in the lake, that NPK, etc. You see that we have done the analysis. When I look at that NPK composition, the worth of the silt is about 1,500 crores. If I take the N, I can fertilize soils in Punjab. If I look at P, phosphorus, I can fertilize soils in Uttar Pradesh. And K, potash, if I look at, I can fertilize the soils in Andhra Pradesh. That is the kind of the nutrient that are there in the silt. So I gave that to the farmers. After 4 months when I visited the farmers had a bumper crop. Each farmer tells me they got additional revenue of 1.5 lakh per acre because of using the silt. Because they were using the silt with nutrient N and P, there was no need to add fertilizer. They saved the money there. And because the soil has nutrient, there was a bumper crop. That's where each farmer said that per acre they got 1.5 lakh rupees. See, that's how the science can benefit the society. If you are from that farming community, you will get, excited with this kind of the thing. When I go there, the people treat us as a god, scientists as god. That's mainly because they got the benefit because of our intervention. That's how, as a students of chemistry, you should take these ideas forward and see that contaminants in our system, how we can remove it economically and how we can use it beneficially, like I have demonstrated the case of Vartu. Okay? Now I have told you why the water crisis happened in Bangalore. In the planning, there is a absence of water urbanism. See, we converted the landscape, porous landscape into paved landscape. When the landscape is covered with the vegetation and water body, the landscape is porous. When we construct building or a paved surfaces, it becomes a paved landscape. When it is paved surface, it doesn't allow the water to percolate. When there is no water percolation, groundwater recharge doesn't happen. That is one of the crises. And the second is the absence of reuse of treated wastewater. Sometime when I write an article, people write to me saying that, why do you want us to drink wastewater, treated wastewater? My question to them is simple. You just travel from Mysore to Bangalore along the Kaveri river. You will be surprised to see the sewage entering the Kaveri water. And that same Kaveri water with sewage we are drinking today. Instead of drinking sewage of Mysoreans, you can drink your own sewage, treat it and have it. That's my answer to them. That is how we have to solve the problem. That is what the circular chemistry is. That is what the circular economy is. Make it economically viable with minimal environmental footprint. That's what we say the concept of circular economy. Now you understood the chemistry behind it also. Okay? Now let us look at Bangalore. Some of you are not from Bangalore because when I was having lunch, I was hearing more of Malayalam there. That means a lot of people from neighboring states have come. No problem. Kerala is also facing the similar problem as the Bangalore. Let us look at the Bangalore of 1800. We had 1452 water bodies, 80% green cover. Because of the porous landscape, we had a temperature of 14 to 16 degrees Celsius in May month, that is summer month. And today, because of the paved surfaces, we have temperature of 36 to 37 degrees Celsius. And look at this one. The Bangalore enjoyed 0 degrees Celsius in December in 1800. Because of that, we were growing apples in a place called Palace Orchard closer to my institute. And today, we do not grow apple. What do we grow? Waste and waste people. Understood? Okay. So that means the city, which was a garden city, became a garbage city, and today it's a dead city. Okay. Now look at the lakes of Bangalore today. Today I have about 200 water bodies, 193 are live tanks. If I rejuvenate the lakes of Bangalore, as I said earlier, and re-establish the interconnectivity, I have solved the problem of the flooding in the city. Okay, the flooding, what happens quite regularly, even last week near Whitefield, there was a flooding. Okay. Now, look at how Bangalore has changed over a period of time. 1973, we had 68% green cover and 8% red or building. Today, 86% is red, only building. 1973, when I was quite young, the region was garden city with 68% green cover. 92, you see the changes in the land cover, industries started coming up. 99, 2000, at outskirts you see changes happening with Infosys and Wipros coming up there. Then intensification, 2009 further intensification, and today you see that there has been a 1078% increase in the pure surface. We have lost 88% vegetation and 79% of the water. Okay, water body. The city has reached the situation, we have oxygen deficiency and water scarcity. The city has become unlivable. You know, people who can afford in the apartment, they may not understand this problem. You have to be a common man to understand the problem. You know, when your tap go dry 3 days or 4 days in a week, you will understand the consequence of the water crisis. Okay, so now that means the growth in Bangalore has surpassed the carrying capacity of the thing. You know, it has crossed the assimilative capacity because of the higher, you know, earlier some pollutant the environment could assimilate, but today the pollutant have crossed the assimilative capability of the ecosystem. Second is the supporting capacity. We have removed the water bodies, we have removed the greeneries, etc. Okay, so now let us look at the greenery in the city. How many trees are there in the Bangalore? You know, this is my campus. We did a mapping of trees in campus using GPS, global positioning system. We have 22,000 trees. We link that with the remote sensing data. That is a picture of the earth taken from the satellite. Now, this kind of mapping we did in couple of wards. With that knowledge, using remote sensing data for entire Bangalore, we did a mapping of trees in Bangalore. We just overlaid the ward boundaries. So we know in each ward how many trees are there. Our study shows that 1.5 million trees are there in Bangalore for a population of 9.5 million. That means for every 7%, one tree is there. You might ask, how many trees are required? Okay. Do we require trees? Why do you require trees? I want answer. Gentlemen, why do we require trees? That means we don't require trees. You are not even responding. Forcefully.
We do require trees.
Trees gives oxygen.
And a lot of
And you are all chemistry student. You don't know the importance of oxygen. None of you, I mean, many of you are not responding. Why do we require oxygen?
for breathing, for respiration.
For respiration. How many of you are respiring? I'm asking a question. Rise. All of you. Then you should have answered this question. Okay? So now, yeah. You understood that you are all respiring, you need oxygen. How many trees required to meet your oxygen demand? I have written there, maybe wrong. Tell me how many trees are required. See, when you breathe, you give out carbon dioxide to an extent of 540 to 980 gram per person per day. Younger people, 1 kg, 980 gram per person per day. Senior people like me, 540 gram per person per day. 1 hectare of tree removes the carbon to an extent of 6 to 9 tons per year. By that ratio, for every human being, 7 trees are required or 8 trees are required. This is not scientific innovation. This has been taught in our scriptures. You know, some of you would have read Bible, no? How many of you have read Bible? This one in Bible. When I read Bible, there is at least 320 times mention about the importance of nature conservation. And Quran you look at, Quran talks about imminent war if you pollute the water. That means if you change the water chemistry, you are going to have the war. So now, see, there is a war because of other hydrocarbon, that is also chemistry there. Now, other one is the water chemistry. So that's where when you visit Dargah, you know, you have to wash your feet and finger with a clean water before you enter Dargah. A good Dargah always has a well. You know, you have to pull water out of the well and wash your feet and finger, then only you can go to Dargah. They thought that if you practice in Dargah, you will also practice at home and community. Even in the literature which I follow, brings out the linkage between the water, child and trees. See, if you have a well at home, you are wealthy. 10 wells are equal to 1 lake, 10 lakes are equal to 1 sarovar, 10 sarovar is equal to 1 child, and 10 children are equal to 1 tree. That means benefit of having 10 children, you can also have same benefit by planting and nurturing a tree. I'll put it other way. When somebody cuts the tree, they are murdering their own 10 children. You see how powerful that is. When I wrote an article, one of the forest officer came to my office with tears in his eyes. I asked him, sir, what happened? He said, it is because of you. Then I said, I was quite happy to see tears in a bureaucrat's eye. Then I told him, sir, I have not done anything to you. Why are you blaming me? He pulled out my article saying that, you have written an article saying that those who cut trees, they are murdering their own 10 children. Now I am a forest officer. Government has asked me to remove 179 trees on Jaimal Road for road widening. If I remove the trees, tomorrow you will write another article saying I have murdered 1790 children. If I don't remove the tree, I will lose the job. I need solution from you. That's where I have come to you. Then I said, there is a vacant land nearby. Why don't you do the planting and think about transplantation? When he started doing, Bangalorean supported that. See, that is the innovative solution. That is the novel solution. That is what you need to give. Okay. Now let's look at how many water bodies are there in Bangalore. Was there in Bangalore 1973 to 2023. We have lost 79% of the water bodies in Bangalore. You know, the red ones are the one we have lost. And if you look at this, gives the Bangalore as an undulating terrain. You know, earlier river was passing through. People put a bund at regular interval. That's how we got the water bodies, lakes in Bangalore to meet the domestic and our irrigation water demand. So we lost 79% of the water bodies. Okay. Now the implication you understood, and because of the removal of water bodies, we have the groundwater table decline. You know, 45% of the water demand for the Bangalore is met from the groundwater resources. You know, maintaining the quality of groundwater is important, and also the quantity is important. To sustain the water in the ground, you need to have porous landscape. That means when the water rains, the percolation happens. Okay. So now we also developed the Bangalore Urban Information System. During the water crisis, you would have seen this image being circulated in WhatsApp University generously. You know, one fellow just copied from our page and he just added some voice in Hindi. I saw some 7.9 lakh people had followed him. Whereas I put it online about for 6 months or so, I have only 1,628 people. So that means WhatsApp University seems to be better than my university. Huh? So here you will know what is the Bangalore, how urbanizing, what is the solution for Bangalore water crisis, and what needs to be done. We have talked about it in this portal. Okay, those who are interested can go to this website, can access that. Okay, so now let us understand what are the functions of the wetlands. Okay, while the lake. See, lakes give us fish, water, fodder, etc. Okay, and also it does the job of groundwater recharge and treatment. You know, that is the remediation. You should understand what kind of treatment the lake does. You know, how that contaminants are removed, as I explained earlier. Then cultural services, recreation, etc. You know, you would have come across Kerehabba, etc. Okay, now see, I talked about Sarki Lake few minutes back. Let us look at when the lake is there, what is the groundwater table? See, when lake was there, people were getting the water in the wells at about less than 100 feet. After removing the lake, you know, the influential fellow remove the lake, he will come and swallow the lake in the name of development. You see the surrounding people, they lose the groundwater. We saw the groundwater table going down to 600 feet in 6 years. Okay, today, after 23 years, in the same location, you know, people have gone down to such of water, you know, 1,800 feet, but there is no water. You know, the place where 100 feet water was available, today they have gone down to 1,800 feet, there is no water. But what we are doing, Bangaloreans, we are searching for water in the moon. You know, we just now launched the thing, searching for water in the moon. In the name of development, we will do that, but we lose the basic resources on the ground. Okay? Now, let us look at what is the worth of the lake. You know, when the lake is not polluted, you know, 10,500 rupees per day per hectare goods we get in the form of fish, fodder, etc. When we pollute the lake, with the sustained inflow of the water, the sewage and untreated industrial effluent, the worth of the lake come down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. Now, who are the people who depend on the lake? You see, fishermen, washerwomen, the farmers, etc. And who are the people who pollute the lake? Elites like us. We sit here, we send our sewage into the lake without even knowing how to manage the sewage. Okay, that is where you see that section of the society become vulnerable without the resources. Okay, and the consequence of losing the greenery and the water is the increase in temperature. See, the temperature in 90s was 21 degrees, became 24 in 2000, and 2010 28, and today it's about 36 to 39 degrees Celsius. And if you go from the center of the city, wherever lakes is there, you see our park is there, temperature is 2 degrees lower. Even my campus, I have a green cover, 54%. Because of that, we do good science. Because of the good environment, we have good oxygen. When there is a good oxygen, naturally brain will function better, unlike most part of the Bangalore, where a contaminated air is there. Okay, so now this, you see the flooding is happening in the city quite often because of the loss of interconnectivity among the lake. And of course, immediately after flood, we have the drought. You see how the thing happened? Lake yesterday, today people have converted into residential layout. That becomes a vulnerable pocket for the flooding in the region. Okay? And second thing is the concretizing the drain. That again increases the water velocity and quantum of the water. For example, whenever there is a flooding in the region, you would have seen Chief Minister saying 1,000 crore is being relayed to bring down the flooding in the city. What they do in the name of flooding, they pocket the money. For example, I have studied that flooding thing. They take up the remodeling of the drain. Remodeling of the drain is nothing but concretizing the drain and narrowing the drain. See, when they concretize the drain, it is against the hydrological principle. Any drain which is a natural phenomena does the groundwater recharge. But when we concretize, what happens? Nothing goes inside. You have large amount of water on the overland. And second thing is, when they build a new drain, when they concretize it, they will also narrow the drain. For example, between Belandur and Nagaram, the drain width was 80 meter. Today you go and measure, it is 18 meter. Because of that, Koramangala flooded. When Koramangala flooded, the local resident approached me. When I studied, I saw it is because of these drains. Then my report was taken into the National Green Tribunal. Green Tribunal told BBMP they should solve this problem. How did the BBMP solve the problem? They put one more drain parallel to this drain. See, now 3 levels of mismanagement. First, they concretize the drain. Every kilometer of concretization, they got 8 crores. 40% of that they pocketed. Second is when they narrow the drain, the adjacent builders, they had an understanding with the builders and they made money there. Third is when they constructed a new drain, any civil work, again 40% goes. So this is how the mismanagement happens. Okay? So I'm not saying that you should raise a voice there. You should understand this thing. And if you have a spinal cord, you should stand up, okay, and raise the voice. And I see many people don't have the spinal cord in Bangalore, okay. Now, what else can be done? Okay, this is my last part of the talk. How we can take the science to the society. I said that my wastewater treatment technology is working at Jagpur and many places, okay. And then rainwater harvesting is happening, and we have created water bodies and mini forest in each ward. And then most powerful thing is environment education at all levels. We have been sensitizing the youth as far as possible. Okay. Now, see, one of the event we do once in 2 years, popularly known as Lake Symposium. From 98 I've been doing it. Now the 14th edition will start day after tomorrow. Actually, tonight I am traveling to that place. When I got the invitation, I was told that 15th is my presentation. I said, since I am traveling, I will come on 14th and do the job. And after that invitation on 19th, I didn't hear anything from the organizer for almost a month. Now this symposium gives a forum for the international and national delegates. Not only that, 20% or 25% of my audience are school and college students. When school and college students attend this event, where international delegates and experts and national delegates are there, they get a knowledge. Okay. Second thing is, when the students do the presentation the concluding day, when they win prizes, their confidence level goes up. That's how we do the capacity building. Now the 14th edition, 14th Biennial Symposium is day after tomorrow, 17th to 20th October at Alvas College in Mudbitri. Those of you who are interested can look at the web page and can come there. Okay. So now, how the children do the experiment? See, children do the simple carbon estimation. During photosynthesis, there is a carbon sequestration happens. How much carbon is stored? They analyze. Then they do the water chemistry, water and sediment chemistry, and they see the children have been trained by my student. Children go and collect the sample. They use the lab and they do the analysis. Similarly, rural area, children do the neighborhood mapping of diversity of plants and animals. Okay. So now the children see, this is the water body I have created in the campus, which stores 10 lakh liters of water, which is a lab for my students to do the water chemistry, etc., biofuel study. Not only students are happy, I also have otter in the campus. I don't know from where it has come, but it is there. But otter, I was told it is a voracious eater of fish. But I don't feed that. But when we did the biodiversity study, we found that there is an adequate number of algae, zooplankton, fish. That means if you facilitate the system, nature knows how to maintain the balance. Okay? Now, when I meet people, they also take the idea forward. For example, this is a drier taluk of Karnataka. There was a water crisis. This saint couldn't solve the problem. He approached us. We gave a suggestion to do the rejuvenation of water bodies. There are 32 water bodies in Mudbitri. He did the desilting of 2 water bodies, and because of his intervention, remaining 30 were done by the local community. In the meanwhile, he also came up with the idea to have a water body in his campus of 12 acres. We gave an idea where to have water body, what size should be there. Within 15 days, he created a water body, and the success is because of the youth. When I see the Alva students have taken active part, and that's how we have the water body there. When sensible youth take part, there is a solution to the societal problem. So then I saw that Alva CEO is also quite young. Then I gave a medicine to Alva CEO, and we have a water body in this campus which stores 25 lakh liters, and he took up the green planting of native species in the campus. See, when I visit the campus, I see the greenery. These are myself, my student, and also you see smile on her face. Let me tell you something interesting. This gentleman, when he met me, he was a bachelor. He was struggling to get married. Unlike Bangaloreans who get a partner on Facebook, next month they file the divorce paper. Whereas this man, within 6 months he get a partner, perfect partner, wonderful partner who take care of the joint family. That is where the nature rewards you when you provide solution to the societal problem. That's what happens. Because of his intervention, surrounding groundwater sources get recharged. Okay. Now, come to my campus, you will see this climber. Look at how the coiling happens, anti-clockwise, clockwise mechanism. I was fascinated by that. I felt that I should have it in Bangalore, that way in my campus. I brought this pot to the Bangalore from Western Ghats, planted in 7 locations. Out of 7 locations, in only 1 location it has survived, that is next to the building where I have been working for 2 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care. You do not know who will take care of you when you cross 60. Then in front of this building we created a mini forest in 2 hectare area, 49 native saplings, 500 plants were planted. What is the intervention? Sir is sitting here. He comes to campus. He was when he was saying he was coming to campus, that is the time we created this forest. At that time this region had Parthenium near SSU, near CES, okay? And groundwater table at that time was 150 feet. Today, because of the forest, you get a feel of the rainforest, you see the groundwater is 10 feet, 5 to 10 feet. And temperature is 2 degrees lower. And look at, because of this nice climate, microclimate, I have you see this kind of organisms. sloth, this one, the slender lories and varieties of snakes and birds, etc. See, that's how the nature is created when you give a favorable environment. When you don't give a favorable environment, what will happen? You will have a city like Bangalore without water and all. Okay? Then, see, that's what we sensitize the youth. Look at my crowd and my student, we go and train the youngsters. And also we conduct a program called environment education or environmental management. This is for senior people. I've been doing for the last 22 years. This is for people working in industries, universities, etc. We have been trying to sensitize everyone at all levels, from school children to the working professional. Our agenda is to sensitize as many as people with the environmental knowledge so that they become sensible. When people become sensible, they will be responsible. Otherwise, you will see irresponsible behavior in the system. Okay? See, my agenda of science is to sow the seeds of knowledge in this young brain. They become sensible. When they become sensible, they become asset to the nation. We are trying to create that asset to the nation through these youngsters. Okay? So, now, before I wind up, let me take you to the Western Ghats. Look at the diversity of Western Ghats. If you look at, we have about 1.3 million varieties of plants and animals. Out of 1.3 million varieties of plants and animals, we know the biochemical composition of that only 15%. That's it. Remaining 85% is unexplored. That is where youngsters like you are required for the science. To explore and find out what kind of how those biochemical composition is useful in treating varieties of diseases. Why do we need varieties of plants and animals in the system? When you have varieties of plants and animals, you have variety of food. Because of variety of food, you have variety of medicine in your body, which provides you the immunity. That means there is lot more to do, and few people are there in the system now. Okay? Look at the diversity. In one taluk, I have 54 varieties of rice. And look at the brinjal. In one village in Uttar Kannada, I have 16 varieties of brinjal. One is good for fragrance, other one is for the yield, and other one is a pest resistance. If I hybridize these three, I get a better quality brinjal. I don't have to get genetically modified thing from abroad. That is where we need more and more youngsters to do this kind of science in India so that the country benefits. Otherwise we look at genetically modified with the briefcases. Those fellows will dump it on our head without even understanding the implication of that in the surrounding environment. We'll accept such products. Okay? So then, let us see where in this richness of biodiversity is there. Latitudinally you go. You see at 14 to the 8 to 14 degree, you have the highest number of plants and animals. 8 to 14 degree corresponds to Karnataka and Kerala part of Western Ghats. Most of you are from Kerala and I am from Karnataka. We inherit such a rich diversity. It's our responsibility to understand that and conserve that. Okay? So now, if you want to conserve, how science helps? We have tried to understand how the degradation is happening using remote sensing data with artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also tried to look at what is the fragmentation of the thing, because this is and we looked at what is the carbon stored, which amounts to about 100 billion rupees. And every year about 37,000 gigagram of carbon is stored by the plants in this region. That means they are trying to balance the carbon that is emitted in Trivandrum, Cochin, Mangalore, etc. The nature is doing the job. But we do not understand that we are converting that native forest into buildings, etc. Okay? So if this continues, what is likely to happen we have predicted. This article I wrote in 2018. I said that temperature in Kerala is going to go up by 1.5 degree. We will have a vector-borne disease. Then rainfall will change and rainfall intensity will change. That means rainfall which is supposed to be spread the 6 to 8 months, it will come in few days. When you have high quantum of rain in shorter duration, that's called high intensity rainfall, you will have flooding. With flooding, you will have landslides and mudslides. And indicated in my article, there is going to be a floods in Kerala and Karnataka. People didn't take it seriously. 2019 when floods happened, the people started looking at my article, thinking that okay, they can solve the thing. But they didn't do it. That's where we had a why not fiasco recently. Okay? So now there is a linkage between the water to the vegetation. Okay? We have looked at that. That article is available. You know, when vegetation cover the landscape, about 60% of rainfall get infiltrated. Okay? So now I'll conclude with the concluding. I'm going to wind up now anyway. So if you want to understand sustainability, just listen to this lady. You know, she will teach you. You know, when I was traveling in Uttara Kannada, this lady told me what is sustainability. Because in the glossy report you will see sustainability, sustainable development, etc., which is of no meaning. She said, she collects one bucket full of bivalves every day to run her family. You know, when she sells that one bucket of bivalves are the marine organism which shells, she gets 350 rupees. One bucket she gets 350 rupees. She tells me that 350 rupees is sufficient to run her family. So that's why she doesn't collect the second bucket. When I asked her why you don't want to collect second bucket today, she said second bucket is for tomorrow for my children. That is the sustainability. When you think of your next generation and maintain the resources through the prudent management, you have done your job. That's what you are supposed to do, and that is where science can help. We develop the decision support system in that you can see which are the ecologically sensitive regions in the Western Ghat at village level. Okay, this is the QR code. You can download that. You can also go through that. That's called Sahyadri. You know, you can visualize at village level which villages were the ecologically sensitive. You know, why not? It's an ecologically vulnerable region. That's what we have been telling the government, but government doesn't want to listen because they are all taken over by the influential section of the society, because most of you do not raise your voice. That's where the influential section, which constitutes 5% of the total population, they have taken over India. 95% of the Indians are keeping quiet. They have allowed the resource mismanagement. Okay, so if you need more details, you can go to this portal and you can write to me at this email. You will get a response within 1 hour of my sending the email. I don't use mobile. Thank you very much. If there are any queries, I would be happy to answer.